It's baking time here on Jagee's Cookbook. Hi and welcome. Now this time I'm going to show you some lovely cookies which are very healthy because I'm going to use some oatmeal and I'm going to obviously use dates. Both of them which are very healthy for you. Now, dates are very good in actually increasing the hemoglobin. Because it's full of iron and it's full of fiber, so it's very good. Now the Arabs use a lot of dates. Here I've chopped around 200 grams of dates and I have mixed it up with caster sugar so that they remain separated from each other and they don't stick to each other, because as we all know, dates have nature to stick to each other because of their stickiness. Now, usually, to make things easier, what we do is we usually go and buy biscuits and cookies and cakes from the bakehouse or from the supermarket and everything. But it's a much healthier choice if you make it or bake these goodies at home, mainly because we do not know what kind of whether they actually use trans fats. Trans fats are very bad for you. Margarine and everything, all sorts of vegetable fats and vegetable shortening, which is not really good for you. Here in homemade cooking, especially me, I only use butter. Even though it's saturated, there is no harm in using butter, and the children, obviously, it's very good for the children. And besides, it's always something special when the whole house smells of cookies or baking, cakes and everything. There's a special warmth and coziness to that house. Children love it, and children especially feel wonderful once they come back home, their mummy making some nice baked dishes, and the children will look forward to coming home. So this time, like I said, it's a very easy. I've shown you many cookies and all kind of biscuits, but this time it's a very easy one. It can be whipped up very quickly. Now what we have to do is we need 100 grams of unsalted butter. Okay. Now in all my baking things, I always use unsalted butter. I have been taught that way, so I've always stuck to that. 100 to 110 grams of unsalted butter. Okay. Okay. Let's keep it there. Now we need a wooden spoon. Okay. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to now this is very soft. This butter, it has to be soft. All we have to do is just break it up. Into this we need altogether 3/4 cup of sugar. Into this goes 1/4 cup of caster sugar, or sorry, granulated sugar, not caster sugar, granulated sugar. Okay, 1/4 cup, and 1/2 cup of lovely soft brown sugar. Okay, now you can use jaggery if you want to. There's no harm. Now, if you don't have brown sugar or jaggery, you don't have to fret about it. All you have to do is use 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. So mix it well. Okay. So now you can use an electric mixer and mix it really well, but I prefer to mix it with my wooden spoon. This is how we were taught when we were taught baking. The thing is that I don't feel like the sound, to hear the sound of the electric beater, so that's why I thought of mixing it with a wooden spoon with my hand. Besides, it's good exercise for my hands. So cream it well. cream the butter and the sugar as well. Now, because the granulated sugar is present in this, it has an abrasive effect, and it's actually very good to soften the butter and cream it more. So now you can see it's lovely and fluffy. You don't need a machinery and all that noise to, cream a little bit of butter and sugar. Okay, now to this we need a teensy little bit of vanilla extract, around half a teaspoon, just half a teaspoon is more. Now this is optional, you don't need to if you don't want to. And 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Those who don't like cinnamon, which I find is very strange because cinnamon is lovely in baking. Don't. You can both the cinnamon and the vanilla extract is optional. So mix this. Lovely smell. Gorgeous. Now cinnamon is supposed to be very, very good for diabetic patients. If you are a diabetic person, it's better if you have a lot of cinnamon. It will actually help in decreasing your sugar level. 1 egg, just 1 egg. And cream this also really well. So everything is mixed together. A very quick recap. 110 grams of unsalted butter with a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, or you can add just 3/4 cup of granulated sugar altogether. Then you mix in 1 egg, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Both vanilla and cinnamon are optional. Mix all together. This is lovely and fluffy. That's what we're looking for. We need a fluffy mixture. Okay, now cookies are usually a little bit more softer than usual biscuits. That's because cookies can be compared to little cakes. But here, what I usually do is they usually actually you're supposed to actually put a pinch of salt and a little bit of baking soda or baking powder, whatever you want. But here I'm not going to add anything because I noticed that our climate is humid as such, and the biscuits become soggy anyway, so it doesn't need to be very soft. That's why I am not going to put any sort of baking powder or baking soda. You can if you want. Now, if you just put a little pinch of it, that's all. Otherwise, these cookies, they tend to, enlarge into huge pumpkins. Now it's time to add the flours. To this, we add around 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Okay, all-purpose flour, and mix carefully. Now, this is like very, very less stressful cookies because it just needs 1 bowl. Everything else, just mix in this bowl. Okay, and we need 1.5 cups of oatmeal, instant oats, any kind of oats. That is 1.5 cup of oats. So it's around 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour and 1.5 cup of oats. In that goes. Okay, and then we need to mix it well, and we're going to actually use our hands to make the cookies. Okay, now you get a lovely sticky mixture. If you think you need a little bit of milk, you can add. Now, if you're using just 100 grams of butter, then I suggest you add a little bit of milk if you find the dough very, very, very kind of stiff. If not, if you're using 110 grams of butter, then milk wouldn't be necessary. It all depends upon the nature of the actual dough or the flour. Like I said, the flour, each flour, okay, each batch of flour can behave differently because of the aging process. Or if it's new flour, it doesn't need much of water, but old flour does need. To this, you add around 200 grams of dates, 200 grams of chopped dates. Now you can see, this is actually, it's separate, it's not sticking to each other. What I did was, I chopped these dates, I took out the seeds, I chopped the dates into small pieces, and then I rolled them in caster sugar, so that's why they're not sticking together. Otherwise, they'd all be in one clump, because dates are very, very sticky. They're so sticky that long ago, Arabs used dates instead of cement, because they had so many dates out there, so much dates they had. They used to actually use the dates to stick the bricks together. Or whatever together, and they used to actually build houses with dates. They had a lot of dates. Okay, this is a bit sticky. That's mainly because I just used 100 grams of butter. So I'm just going to use a little bit of milk, tinsy bit of milk, just to help it along, to make it into one dough. We need actually a baking sheet. Now, my baking sheet is my oven grill, which actually is covered with baking or parchment paper. That's out here. You'll get it. Meanwhile, my oven is being preheating 180 degrees, the usual 180 degrees, and just, let it heat well. If you got the butter wrapper, just grease it. Okay. And then I'm going to use my hands, the best kitchen implements. This is your dough. Now, if you keep it for some time, it will, it'll be a bit more stiff again, because there's oats in it, and oats have a capacity to absorb all moisture. So little tiny bits, probably like this, okay, and make it into cookies. I'll actually keep it here so that you can see it, and keep them a little bit apart, because even though they do not have any baking soda or any kind of leavening agents, they are going to spread a little. That's their nature. Now, if it's not in a humid weather, obviously you can use a pinch or even a quarter teaspoon of baking soda, but I would advise you not to. I don't. Okay, this is a bit of a messy job, but it feels nice. Very stress relieving. Remember, these are going to bulk up a little bit, not too much. So you have to give space in between the cookies. Very good on rainy days. And once it's baked, okay, for, around 8 to 10 minutes, or when it's golden brown, it depends upon the oven. What you do is Store them in airtight containers, and yes, they will keep fresh for a long time. Good thing is that they do not contain preservatives, artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial fats, nothing. It's totally natural. Because most of all the cookies and biscuits you get outside, they have trans fats, which are very bad for you. They have vegetable shortening, again, not good. Or margarine, also not very good. They also contain artificial flavors, artificial colors, all sorts of unwanted things, emulsifiers, and also they contain preservatives. Now, what we make at home does not contain anything, and if your child says he or she wants biscuits or cookies, be a good mom and make it for them. Because if you make things for your children will also make things for their children. And this will be a really good tradition to carry on. Now, if you don't do this for a child won't know exactly what to do. And because she doesn't know the beauty of home cooking or home baking, and she wouldn't bother to she or he wouldn't bother to make anything for their kids, and that's sad. Because I think if you're a mommy, then you have to make things for your children. That's your duty. Like I said, you can make it as big or as small as possible. All depends upon your liking. Now, the same thing can be done with raisins or sultanas if you, well, don't like dates. Dates, lovely in cookies. And you want something different like figs or raisins or sultanas. You can add around 200 or even 150, because probably 200 will be too much. It all depends upon exactly how much you want or how you like your cookies. Now I have finished actually doing the cookies, actually shaping the cookies. Okay, now I'm ready to pop these beauties into the oven. So it's all done. Like I said, 180, and my darlings are going to bake. There. For around, well, 180, around, well, 8 to 10 minutes, it depends, till it's golden brown. Okay, now my cookies have been golden brown. Oh, the whole kitchen is smelling, it has a lovely aroma. Now, yes, yum, yum, yum. Great. Now, they're lovely and golden brown. If you have a wire rack like this, which you need if you do a lot of baking, it's very good to cool off things. Now, it would be a good thing if you let this rest for at least 2 minutes, so that it crisps up a little more and it's easier to actually take it from the sheet. This and a cup of tea or coffee, tea time or for breakfast, is awesome because it's healthy and totally very easy to make. Really enjoy them. Let them cool, okay? Give them 5 to 10 minutes to cool, And once they're really cool, you can actually store them in an airtight container, and they'll keep for weeks. So you enjoy them. No trans fats, no artificial colors, no preservatives, no artificial flavorings. Everything is natural. So you go enjoy, make these, enjoy, and give it to your children also. They'll love you for it.